Hello, everyone. Welcome to FPL the Onion Ep09. It's myself, Ash, and Nick again. Nick, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. Actually, I am. I've been feeling a little bit strange this last week, and I think it's because all the planning and all of the kind of analysis of everything that I've been doing had kind of run up to game week 30 and this free hit or not free hit and everything. And in a way, because we've now arrived here, I'm feeling a little bit lost at sea, but at the same time, not as invested in it at all. And I think it's good that we got some fixtures today because I think I'm going to kind of double down now and do some more analysis and figure out where I want to go with the team over the next few weeks. But I have, particularly over the weekend, I think also because this is a split game week across kind of the weekend and then Thursday. But obviously we're in the middle of the game week now. I feel a little bit. I just haven't really been thinking about it as much in the last few days. So,
Okay.
but no, it'd be interesting to chat through it with you tonight.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's been so much get up to 30, isn't it? Probably battle through it without a free hit, as we've sort of come to think in the last few weeks. I mean, it was only a few weeks ago we were thinking, yeah, definitely free hit, but that's all kind of changed. And the fact that's over an international break, there's a bit of FA Cup, and yeah, fixtures today is going to be a bit of a shakedown, isn't it? And then it will be 31 planned through to the end of the season, which is quite a nice chunk of game weeks to plan for.
Yeah,
Okay,
indeed, indeed.
well, before we move on, just a reminder on the screen, we've got our league code. I see your cousin Tom has joined the league, so we're up to 4 now. Pretty exciting times. And he's having a cracker of a week, 88, I think, with a 27-point bench boost. Did you see that?
Oh wow, no, I didn't. I hadn't seen that he'd bench boosted, but that's great. 27 points on that. It's amazing.
Yeah, pretty good, and it looked like a pretty honest bench order as well. So fair play, Tom. Shout out, that is good. But yeah, the code for anyone watching, if you'd like to join the league, is 0NPH6D.
There you go. Easy to remember that one.
I did like the fact that it starts with what looks like an O and an N. That's the reason I kept that one. That's pretty sad. You're telling me you haven't noticed? Dear, right, let's move on. Right, here's your week, Nick. You are on 62 minus 16, so 46, which is actually lower than me, I think. But for me, looking at your team, I think you're still having a better week. You got 9 to play, I think, but your rank has dropped a fair bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the rank has dropped. It's funny because I was quite excited about taking the minus 16 because I thought logically I think it will work out, and I actually still think it will over because the minus 16 was just over the next 2 game weeks. It was to get in Arsenal and Spurs players. Obviously got in 3 Arsenal and 2 additional Spurs. And the idea was obviously that they were doubling in 29. And so I was taking out single game week players, some of whom I believed were injured. And I think actually they were with the likes of Bowen. And yeah, to then also have fixtures in 30, which meant that I wouldn't have to bench boost. I wouldn't have to free hit in 30. And so I think if it plays out this week, great. If it works out this week, great. But I've also got next week as well. I've got game week 30 for it to work out too, and I've saved the free hit for later. So it's kind of a bit of a longer play. But the reason why I was quite excited is I was thinking, oh, minus 16 and the hit's going to work out. But I've still taken a minus 16. So if I'd actually wildcarded in say 2026 or 28 instead of in 23 when I did, I would have probably had a team similar to this, and I wouldn't have had to take the minus 16. So whether it works out or not, I'm still obviously going to drop rank just from having taken that minus 16 anyway, because there'll be teams who have a lot of these players but haven't had to take a minus 16 to get there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it went. I calculated that I was going to get an additional 8 fixtures over game week 29 and game week 30 on the players that I was bringing in, and because it was I was getting double game week players and it was a minus 16. I only really needed I only need a couple of returns for it to work out. Now, unfortunately, Ramsey obviously got the 10-pointer, which I wasn't expecting. Had him third bench. Now, I thought about that over the last couple of days. He wouldn't have been in my starting 11 anyway, even if I hadn't taken the minus 16. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think I would have been getting his points anyway. But the other one was obviously Cancelo, who I took out. And whenever you take Cancelo out, it's always dangerous. He could have had more returns against Palace, but the 0-0 and the 3 bonus was pretty painful. But the other minus 16 that I was also considering, or I think it might even been a lowly minus 12, was Lacazette instead of Kane, and that would have allowed me actually to have kept Cancelo, which is what I would have done. So
Right.
in hindsight, that may have been the better move. But if Kane gets a couple of returns against Brighton, then I'm laughing. And obviously he's my planned captain for 30 as well. So yeah, delighted to get a Martinelli assist. I didn't actually realise he was on corners, so I'll definitely take that.
No, nor did I. And I suppose, yeah, I was going to say, if you had Lacazette, you probably wouldn't have had Martinelli, right? So not as a big
No.
swing there, but yeah, it's a hard one to calculate. That
Yeah.
Cancelo 9 was really annoying. I really tried to avoid the football last night. And although I did stupidly log on to Twitter and I saw someone say, "Oh, Cancelo owners have been really lucky here." I can't remember the timing, but I must have got my times wrong. It must have been like 20 minutes in, and I presume that was after he either hit the post or nearly got an assist. And I thought that meant though that he had been benched or not in the squad. And I was like, great stuff. So I went look at this and worry until tomorrow. But then saw it in the morning 0-0 and he was man of the match. I was like, no, that's not good.
Yeah, I saw the man of the match on my phone because I get kind of the Premier League alerts and it says Cancelo's been voted man of the match. But I have noticed that most times it's a player who's very highly owned in fantasy who tends to get the man of the match
Right.
because I think it is a public vote. I don't actually know where you go to
Okay.
vote, but you often see that the very highly owned fantasy asset will get man of the match, even though when you watch the highlights or you watch the game, you're like they weren't the man of the match. But yeah, I saw that he'd got the man of the match and obviously then got the 3 bonus, but. Yeah, pretty painful. I mean, I was really pleased with White getting that 7 points. Obviously, just getting the bonus point was really nice because he was the cheaper Arsenal defender.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I actually quite liked him, anyway, is because he does tend to get he is quite high in the bonus. He's had a few 2s, I think, this season as well, even though he never seems to get attacking returns. But yeah, so it's not too painful the 9 because obviously White's got another game. He just needs to get me another few points, another 6 points, and it will it will pay it off. But as I say, I think with a -16, you're always going to drop rank a bit. So I'm just hoping that by doing the kind of surgery that I did on the team, I don't think I've ever taken a -16 before. That I managed to kind of solidify my rank and even maybe bring it down a bit further. So we shall see.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, Saiss is nice for 6. Just looking at a few other things there. Robertson, who I was so close to getting but didn't in the end. Another double clean sheet there for Liverpool, and I think Liverpool's over 100%, so that's great for you when that comes in.
Yeah, he's been so good for me since I brought him on a wildcard. I think he's been kind of obviously I brought in Laporte and De Bruyne back then as well, but only kind of kept De Bruyne for like 2 game weeks. But it worked out really well. Robertson's he's so solid. They've got a really good 31 fixture.
Yeah.
Obviously Jota again being benched again. He's just that call. It was very lucky at the time, or kind of it could have gone either way at the time, but it's really worked out for me.
Yeah.
Salah obviously noticing that I'd kind of forgotten about the game week 29 triple captainers. The wild card in 26 who hadn't triple captain in them, but I think is he 240% ownership? I think at my
215 or something. We've got it in a minute. So yeah,
I
it's
think
higher
at
in
my
our rank.
I think at my rank it was like 2. It was higher than that. It was like 240, and so obviously I was looking at it thinking it's such a strange situation where you want your captain to blank. That is a very unique situation, but yeah, obviously him being at 200% for me and 240, any point he gets does drop me, but not massively. So it's not horrendous.
Okay, let's move on to my team. 56 -8, so I'm a couple of points ahead of you, but I've got 2 less fixtures in total for sure. I think you're on 9 to play, and I've got 7.
And I managed to talk you into a couple of hits as well.
Yeah, so I did go with the -8 in the end. So I'd already done, if you remember, mid last week, Bowen to Saka. Pretty annoying. I'm dodging Saka's points. I think I had him on free hit for his 16, like was it 10 weeks ago or something? But I keep missing his double digiters, so he might get something against Liverpool, but maybe not. But the 30 fixture is a no-brainer. And then I did 2 more. I was tempted by Robertson in, but I did Doherty in the end instead for Cancelo, so that sucks at the moment. And then Kulusevski came in for Jota, so I was pleased that did he come on Jota and get yellowed again, or just come on? No, I think it was just come on for a one.
I think he came on.
So,
Did you have to get rid of Cancelo then? Could you have afforded those other moves without getting rid of Cancelo?
yeah. I mean, Kulusevski was a downgrade from
Yeah,
Jota, so that would have been fine. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, Cancelo shouldn't have ditched him, but it is one Cancelo game in which he's got 9 against hopefully 3 for Doherty. But if he's rotated on Thursday, that'd be a nightmare. But I'm hoping that pays off. But then looking at City, another clean sheet, and Cancelo, yeah, obviously that tweet was correct. He could have had a lot more, and sellers were lucky, and he could have had a 20-pointer. So he's on the radar to bring back maybe. And it's annoying because a couple of weeks ago I had double City. They've gone now for, I mean, Silva has been a nightmare. He was good for the double, where he's the only player, defender, the classic sort of do you go James, do you go Rudiger, do you go Silva to get 2 games. That only equated to 8 points though. And then he's missed this one, and Chelsea have kept a clean sheet. So that is the first massive kind of fire I've got.
Yeah.
Maybe not massive. Harrison's an absolute nightmare. He came on and then got booked. That's a 0 that blanks anyone else coming on. Digne obviously might have a hamstring injury, and Ep09 seems to be on rotation again. Hopefully that means he plays for 30, but he was dropped for Marcel. So I've got quite a few problems. So I think for sure, in conclusion, I don't think my wildcard was successful, because I've got sort of half the team is strong, solid players, happy to keep, but the other half are not like, oh, shall I sell them or not? They are, oh dear, they're crap. They need to be going as quick as possible.
Well, and it's going to be exacerbated by 30, isn't it? Where we're all missing players anyway, and we haven't got benches for 30, so it's going to make it probably hurt a bit more in 30. Whereas I think 31, the fixtures are really nice, so you should feel like you've got a bit of a team back for that.
Yeah, I think I've actually got a bit of a benching headache now that Weghorst is doubling in 31, and Broja's got a decent-ish fixture actually, because I was thinking before the fixtures released tonight that I need almost maybe a double or a triple defensive move in 31, because I think Digne and Ep09 are long-term massive problems, and I need to get on maybe a Chelsea double up, Liverpool double up, or just maybe get another premium, maybe a City defender back.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny, these doubles. I remember I said a few weeks ago on here that I wasn't going to kind of carve my team up for the doubles that were going to inevitably come. And yet this is the thing now. I find my team with, I've got no Chelsea players, I've got no City players. It just feels very, very strange to have no City players at this stage of the season. And yet it's just because we know that they haven't got doubles on their horizon. But Doherty across those 3 games could get less than 9 points, couldn't he? Could get less than Cancelo, and obviously he took the hit as well to bring him in. So it's just maybe we need to start thinking about that and just think, Cancelo could get a 20-point haul in any game, whereas I think I was a bit blindsided by Doherty getting those 2 double-digit returns in a row.
Yeah.
He could well be benched, couldn't he? And then he could well miss out the next 2. Who knows? But I don't think he will. But I think it's almost like as soon as you've made those transfers, and I'm thinking, I've got 3 Spurs, this is great. But they'd smashed Everton and smashed Leeds. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're going to be even, they've obviously got quite a tough fixture in 30 as well. I mean, it's going to be interesting talking about the Gameweek 30 fixtures, because I actually don't think any of them are that easy to call and not that good for the assets that you'd want. You've almost got the better teams where you want the players from. They've all got a relatively tough fixture, I think. So I think I'm glad that I'm not free hitting in 30 now, because I actually think it will be a bit of a waste for people who do. Obviously, not if they've got like 3 players to play, but I don't think there are going to be mega points in 30, or if there are, they'll be kind of random in places where you don't necessarily expect them. But
yeah, I totally agree. I do feel a bit weird a few weeks ago when we did that analysis, where I thought the fixtures were good and there were good matchups of strong attacks versus weak defenses, but you look at them, I don't know if it's now things have changed, or maybe it was always the case, but yeah, if I got my maths wrong, or something has changed where they just don't look as appealing.
I think one of the biggest things that's happened is Vardy getting injured straight away. Because I think if he'd come back in, obviously, I think did he get 2 the game that he came back in, and he looked immediately like, okay, he's going to be a great option, and he obviously makes them much better because they kind of, they know how to play with him, and you know a bit more about who's going to be good, the likes of Barnes and Maddison, etc. And I think the issue with him getting injured again and them looking pretty ropey again is that their fixture is Brentford, which is the better, I think, one of the better fixtures of the 5. And yeah, I just don't think you can necessarily rely on Leicester assets. I don't feel that bad about not having them. A few people in my Slack channel have brought Barnes in this week. I mean, I've kind of said good luck to you because, meaning it and well as well, because he is I really like Barnes. He's a brilliant player. Whenever I see him, he looks really good. But he is a little bit like Raphinha in that he doesn't often go off. And I think he has had a couple of big returns. I think I might have had a couple of them last season, but he's so inconsistent, and he's as likely to get a 1-pointer and go off injured than he is to get 11. So
I agree. Yeah, I've looked at Leicester, and I think if there was a more obvious candidate and a points hogger in that team, that would be really good. And even a
yeah,
defender. And I was kind of thinking Amati might be quite good for this week if Dini's done his hamstring or something, just a downgrade, free up some money, get a 30 fixture. But you can't say they're going to have a good chance of a clean sheet, and that whole defence is probably going to change when Fofana and Evans come back. And like you say, who's going to start up front out of Thackeray and Nacho, and Madison's been in and out. Yeah, Barnes seems a bit of a mainstay, but then they've got the Europa League. It's really tricky to pinpoint the target there, isn't it?
it's really tricky. And they could smash Brentford, but I think Brentford have kind of turned a
Turned a bit of
corner
a
now.
corner, yeah. Yeah, new
And I just
formation. Toney's loving it.
Leicester's defense is horrendous. But it's again a bit like this quandary of over 30. You wouldn't be going into it on a free hit thinking, right, well I'll have 3 Brentford then because they're playing Leicester. So it's very difficult. I don't actually envy free hitters this week. I'm kind of glad. I think I'm even going to roll a transfer, even though I haven't got 11 players.
Right. That'll hopefully get us under an hour for this week then. We are at 16 minutes already, so let's try and crack on.
16's the magic number. I won't have to repeat myself 17 times about what I'm going to do.
Quick look at this. The interesting changes here in the top 10k compared to this week and last week. And I listened to all of the above average FPL podcasts this week. Have you caught up with those guys? That Baker guy and his I can't remember the host's name. Really interesting.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
That's good. But they were highlighting the fact that Kulusevski is not even on the list last week, and he's gone to 58%.
Yeah.
And
Are
Doherty
they both Spurs fans? I know Baker's a
yeah.
Spurs fan. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite interesting as well, hearing about they just know quite a lot about a lot of players that are up and coming in the Premier League that have been through Spurs. Well, the downfall of Dele Alli, the upsurge of Eriksen, and how he's sort of feeding Toney, and Toney's role at Brentford's now changed because he's always got someone to feed in the balls, and he's not having to come deep, and that's part of the reason for the improvement. So it was interesting little nuggets in that one.
What an amazing signing. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Eriksen could be a little fun little punt for Gameweek 30.
I think Eriksen and Toney would be quite a good double up for Brentford.
Yeah.
If they score, they're going to be involved, surely.
Yeah.
But yeah, 24% triple captain, sorry, in the top 10k, and yeah, top 10k is 217 EO. So, like we say, if he does play on 30, which it sounds like it is going to happen, Klopp was pretty promising. Trained soon, and
I think if it was anyone but Arsenal, or if it was anyone but a kind of fellow top 4 team, I think he could have afforded to rest him given the unbelievable attacking options he's got.
Yeah.
But I think because it's Arsenal and because City drop points, they have to win. I think he'll play.
Outside punt, unfortunately, I did notice before I did sell Jota was that he's got a ridiculous record against Arsenal, so I think he might come in. Not necessarily for Salah, maybe Diaz gets a rest, but watch this space. If that happens, I'll be annoyed.
Yeah, I seem to remember Jota doing really well against Arsenal as well. I think you're right. I think he'll play Jota, but everyone's been saying that Luis Diaz just looks unbelievable. So
yeah. This was I updated this for the first time because I thought, I was partly thinking of actually making maybe a midfield transfer this week, but also just looking ahead for next week. The XG and XA of midfielders and attackers, non-penalty over the last 6. Mane's at the top for midfielders. Foden's quite high. Salah, Raphinha, and for attackers, it's pretty neck and neck. Lacazette, Adams, Kane, Ronaldo.
Interesting to see Adams up there. He has been doing well, but everyone went for Breuer, didn't they? So
yeah, nowhere to be seen, unfortunately. Yeah, it's pretty nasty 50-50 swing a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
The one for me is that the thing I'm tempted to do is, and I know it's sideways, but I don't know. I'm well. One thing I didn't mention actually on my slide is that my rank is pretty in free fall at the moment, so I'm not quite sure whether to try and put the brakes on with something a bit unusual or do nothing and see if that helps. But I am worried about Harrison being deadwood, and the Raphinha could have had. I know we've said it so many times, but a 15 pointer. Did he hit the bar twice? He's on all the free kicks. Obviously, right at the end is. I don't know if you saw his reaction. He was just absolutely dead to the floor, and then um, when the final whistle went, people were coming over his teammates to give him a hug and stuff. He seemed really emotional, and that might have turned a corner for Leeds, last minute winner. So I'm tempted just to make that move because a few people on Twitter have been saying about ditching him in the next couple of weeks, but we'll come to the fixtures in a minute. I think after the break, they've got a few good ones, and then maybe 33, 34 is the time to get rid.
The only thing I would say, just to slightly temper that on Raphinha though, is that it was Norwich and
True.
they needed a last minute winner to win the game. It probably there's going to be a moment where he's going to get a big score and it's going to really, really hurt me. But I haven't owned him all season and it hasn't happened yet. And I still think until Bamford is back, and because I think, did Bamford go off again? Did he go off at half time or something?
Yeah, that's when Harrison came on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just really worry about Leeds.
Mm.
Again, they've got a tough fixture. They've got in 30, they've got Wolves. If you happen to have a Leeds against, even if it was at home to Wolves, or if it was Villa, or even if it was Arsenal or somebody. I mean, just Wolves obviously have just got this reputation at the moment for being a solid defence, and I think they're gonna. It doesn't bode amazingly well for your mate Ep09 on that left hand side dealing with Raphinha. Would they more likely play Marcal? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember who I was listening to. Either Baker was saying or James. I was listening to a bit of that today. I jumped to that bit, and someone was saying they think Ep09 would come back in
Oh, really?
because I think they said because Marcel didn't look great on the ratings I saw. He didn't look like he was too bad apparently, but I think there was a comment he wasn't great. But then again, they got a clean sheet, so would he change that? Don't know. But it seems to be every other game that Ep09 plays. So definitely not going to get rid of Ep09. But yeah, true. That's interesting. The matchup is against Raphinha.
Yeah, I don't know about Raphinha. I just
Mm.
I'm not in a massive rush to get him in, but I do. It is kind of inevitable that he is in some, because I don't own him. At some point, he's going to get a haul, and I'm not going to have him, and it's going to be painful. But I just hope there's a few more twos and ones before that happens.
Yeah. It's not a strong swing to that. I just saw this and thought maybe it's a recency annoyance of Harrison like coming on and getting booked. I mean, mate, just sort it out. Get me some points, please, from the hat trick about 10 weeks ago that made me wildcard you in, and Raphinha's on it. And it's a bit of a rank protection maybe as well. Like no one's got Harrison, whereas Raphinha is going to be pretty heavily owned this week. And true,
Yeah.
the fixture in 30 isn't great, but it's the two after that I'm kind of keen on. So getting him in now might also at least solidify 2 points this week rather than a potential 0 from Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about it. I mean, maybe the move for me is just to get Raphinha in so that when he does inevitably haul, I've actually got him. But
Yeah.
the one who's really surprised me, and I think a lot of people think a lot more of him than I do, but is Havertz. He's just looked absolutely amazing. That goal,
Yeah.
the first touch where he just killed it and popped in. It was brutal for Newcastle because obviously they'd held out that long. I think Eddie Howe's doing an amazing job there, but that touch and finish from Havertz was absolutely class. And I can't see Lukaku getting back in while Havertz is in this form.
Yeah. That's an argument for rolling this week because that is one of many transfers in 31 that I'd really like to make.
Exactly.
I've already got quite a difficult team to bench, so if I brought Havertz in, would it be for who? Well, I guess Harrison. I've kept him, but
I do love
I
love the idea of having two transfers in 31 because I think I'm going to want, Reece James may even be back by then.
Yeah.
But I think if you can get a defender, either get two defenders or get a defender and a midfield, probably Havertz, then it looks pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. I looked at Mikel Tokvam's latest thing, although this isn't updated with the announcements today, so I'll maybe move on from that. But this is again just clarifying the 36 is going to be the big double, but yeah, some of them are already dropping to 33.
Yeah.
So moving on to my ticker for defence. Orange squares are likely doubles and grey ones are either likely doubles or likely blanks. So in 33, for example, the likely blanks are Villa's fixture at Liverpool, Leeds fixture at Chelsea, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, some other doubles have come in, and also another one's to be announced. But the sort of immediate ones are, I mean, Burnley and Everton defence, probably not, but they've got a double in 31.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything now in 32, so I need to update that blank column.
This
and then
this
plenty in
this
33.
season, I know it's been said by a lot of people, but this season has just been absolutely mad, hasn't it? Because you could
Yeah,
easily, you could carve your team up or you could play a free hit in 31 to kind of double up on or triple up on Burnley and Everton. But again, do we really think? I mean, but it's that thing where a little bit like the opposite of the Gameweek 30 fixtures, where you'd almost look at both defenses for those games and think, oh, neither of those teams score a lot of goals. They're both pretty pants, and you could see people who have like Pickford, or I mean, obviously the other fixtures they've got in that week aren't great. In fact, particularly Burnley with the City game, it's kind of like it's just the Everton game there. So I think that's one where I'm going to look at it and just say I'm not going to target players. I'd rather have Chelsea defenders or Chelsea midfielders than bring in bring in an Everton player or bring in another Burnley player. I think there are just going to be bigger points for going for the established teams with better fixtures around that 31.
Yeah, fair. I was just wondering, in the scenario of someone having, say, Foster, is there any playing keeper? I mean, they've got Liverpool, so that's not great. Or, I mean, yourself, I think you're okay. De Gea, you're going to play him, aren't you? But,
Yeah.
Foster and another weak keeper for 31, 32. I mean, Burnley could maybe keep it tight against City. City just haven't scored against Palace, albeit
Yeah.
battered them. Maybe there's something in that. So I know Rate My Team has got Pope as the highest predicted point scorer in 31. I know you love Rate My Team, but that shows that double, like he has been earlier in the season, could be quite fruitful.
Well, and then they've got Norwich
Yeah,
straight after as
the
well.
fixtures are good. In fact, yeah, I've got them rated 2 over the next 8 for defensive.
No, that's
Ranking.
interesting actually. I mean, the other interesting thing about my -16, I guess, is what happens when you make a -16 is I've got 0-0 in the bank, so
Yeah,
any transfer I make requires two. If I'm upgrading somebody, it requires two transfers. But so I don't think I'm going to prioritize getting Pope in for De Gea and downgrading somewhere else. But yeah, that if I was wildcarding, I think Pope he'd be a great option looking at that, wouldn't he?
yeah, and yeah, yeah. I was going to say, what if Pope had a game this week? Would you be tempted to bring him in because you haven't got a fixture
Probably,
this
yeah.
week, right?
Yeah, I probably would. But this is the thing, and this is why this season it's both very, very interesting and also infuriating at the same time, because it sometimes feels like there's quite a lot of luck involved as to when these fixtures drop in and who these teams are playing and how many you've got from that, how many you happen to have, and obviously the people, there will be people who are planning very, very carefully, and people who kept wild cards and things like that who can then again take advantage of these fixtures now. Maybe they're the people who are going to jump past us all.
Yeah. Not tempted to maybe get your old mate Saar in or something, like a keeper this week again. I'm just looking at your De Gea Foster matchups.
I'd have to take two transfers again.
Oh,
To do it.
oh, that was the point one that you were talking about last week. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was the point one, and so the other one was Ramsdale, because obviously he was. I think I can't remember whether Ramsdale's risen now, but he was the same price as De Gea, and so that was the other thing about the Lacazette move, is it would have. I think if I can't remember which Arsenal player I wouldn't have had. I think maybe Martinelli, but it would have involved me not having two, wouldn't it? So I think
Yeah.
it would have involved not having White and then being able to bring in Ramsdale as well. But I think since I thought about getting Ramsdale in, I don't think they've, other than the one on the weekend when I had White instead, they hadn't actually kept a clean sheet for a few games before that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really missing out too much.
Yeah, the defensive thoughts I've got here in 31 is I don't own Robertson and would like him. I don't own a second Chelsea defender, might want them, and I might want Cancelo back. So I think I'm going to definitely do one of those, but being able to do two or three, I don't think now with that Weghorst double, that it's difficult to bench him for a double there.
Yeah.
And with Broja's good fixture, it's going to be quite tricky in 31.
Yeah, that's I think the alternative to me to getting Cancelo back is to get the Chelsea defender and maybe even get the Chelsea double up.
Yeah, I think if James is back, that's hard to ignore, isn't it? I mean, look at those fixtures: Brentford, Southampton, Leeds. It's tough to know whether they're with Chelsea, whether it's better to target, say, if you had to have just Havertz or James, Do you think there's more Chelsea clean sheets or more Chelsea goals in those?
Well,
Traditionally they're not a big scoring team.
I think the big asterisk with James is whether he's going to play all the minutes and whether he's going to be managed back in more carefully than he was managed in before, and whether he breaks down again. Whereas at least with Havertz, he doesn't seem to be particularly injury prone, and he seems to be full of confidence now, and actually looking like the player that they spent whatever it was 60, 70 million on. So
Yeah.
I think actually it'd probably be more sensible to go for Havertz unless James comes back in and plays a couple of 90 minutes. But again, we're not going to see them until 31 now. So
no, that's right. And Matip was the other interesting one that Baker was talking about, which I kind of missed a bit. I mean, he got the assist at the weekend. Seems to be playing most Premier League games. I did have a look. He's played either 90 or 0, I think, in every game this season, but he has missed a few. But I think if I can't afford Robertson and I do go double Liverpool, it might be the way to do it. Just after that Watford game, they're not that easy. City away, Villa away. Gerrard's got a point to prove in 33. Obviously, first versus second in 32. That could be pretty tricky, albeit, it could be a 0-0 easily.
Haven't really thought about Matip at all. I mean, it's even from a couple of seasons ago when their defense was imperious, it was Van Dijk was the kind of the third defender. But for people who just couldn't afford Robertson at that time. But I don't know. I don't think like Matip kind of pops up with the odd assist or the odd goal. But I think you'd feel like he was blocking a Liverpool spot.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's not ideal.
But he is. How much is he? Is he like 5'4" or something like that?
I think it's 4.9.
Is he really? Okay. I guess if you can make it work, it's a bit like with me getting Ben White in the Arsenal defence, really, when there's not a huge hope of.
Yeah, at least he's nailed though. But yeah, like you say, Matip's almost a 12 or a potential 0, which is not ideal.
Yeah,
especially with the bench boost left. I'm kind of thinking I also need nailed players.
Yeah, I mean, just very quickly on goalkeepers, the reason why I kept De Gea actually and didn't kind of make that move is because I looked at United's fixtures past 30, and they actually look pretty decent. I mean, I think they've got 3 decent fixtures, and they may even have a double in 33. In fact, they have got the double in 33 now with Liverpool.
Norwich, Liverpool away.
Yeah. So I think I'm just going to keep De Gea now and just not make that goalkeeper transfer.
Yeah, fair enough. I got them 14th on the ticker, but I don't know. That seemed a bit swayed by the bad fixtures. Apparently, Everton away is hard, but is it really? But yeah, Liverpool away, Arsenal away is tricky.
Yeah.
And then Foster, you've got 18th, so it's not a great combo, but
And who's Foster? So when De Gea's got Arsenal, Foster's got Man City. That's the one I was looking at and thinking that's not great. But again, is it worth a goalkeeper transfer when there are going to be so many other transfers to play? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I think stick. The attacking ticker I've tweaked a little bit by. I've hopefully learned a bit of a lesson with the Coutinho point a couple of weeks ago, where had I put teams in bold, which I've done now, it might have sparked me to get him in. And bold teams on this ticker indicate that they've conceded a high number of 10-point plus hauls from opponents. So colours useful.
What does high mean? Have you got the numbers there on the right hand side?
That's something else. That's the well, in the N2 columns is the fixture difficulty. This is the number of bold fixtures in the next 4 game weeks. So actually Leicester, that's the reason why I was interested in them. Their Brentford fixture, Brentford away, have conceded a lot of 10-point chances, 10-point hauls. So have Palace at home, and so have Newcastle away.
Right.
But we come back to who on earth do you go for in Leicester? So, but yeah, it's just quite interesting. And had I put these in for that Villa game, I can't remember, was it Leeds away, Southampton at home?
Yeah.
They would also have been bold. And if you directly compare that, say Harrison, who maybe had nothing, maybe that was a good switch. So might just give something a little bit extra for trying to predict points.
Yeah, but again, I mean, those Coutinho points, they were super painful. And I had, when I'd just taken fixtures and not necessarily even taken kind of recent form into account, and kind of 4 or 5 game weeks of just planned transfers down, because of that Villa double, I had, Coutinho in was like a really easy transfer. And then obviously because Villa lost a couple of games and didn't really look very at it, I didn't bring him in. And then they've I know they played West Ham away, and that is a much tougher fixture, obviously, than the two they had in the double. But he hasn't done anything in that game. So I think that double for them, Coutinho and Cash, those scores were just absolutely monstrous, weren't they? And so anyone who free hit that week has just done so well.
Yeah, true. It was a short-term amazing double fixture, but
Yeah.
within a double, it was potentially really powerful. Coutinho's
Yeah.
got a point to prove. He's probably not going to get rotated.
Yeah.
I think I overlooked the fact that the fixtures are so good, and with the Chelsea fixtures for the defence, hopefully I didn't. But then, got the wrong one with going Silva instead of James, and then actually Rudiger got rotated and other things maybe outside of our control. So I think I learned the lesson a bit late there. A couple of interesting swings in here though. Salah to Bruno in 32. Salah's got Watford, obviously not going to get rid, but then he's got that City away, Villa away, and then Everton at home, which is blue. But obviously, Merseyside derby, it's not going to be easy. Whereas Bruno, Everton away, Norwich at home, and a double.
Yeah.
And then it gets a bit tricky with Arsenal. And then I was thinking maybe of switching him to KDB then. He's got Watford at home, Newcastle at home, and he's an absolute beast at home. So I'm just wondering whether Salah might not be that essential from 32.
Yeah, and obviously they've still got Champions League, but I think they are going for the league, aren't they? And he still is Salah. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to get rid of Salah this week if they haven't got Son. I think there's quite a lot of people who are going to sell Salah this week for Son.
Yeah,
I've already got Son, and so I'm not going to get rid of Salah. But yeah, I think if that double for United wasn't Liverpool away, I'd be much more keen on it. Bruno can return in any game. He could get a penalty, something like that. But again, Ronaldo looked a lot better without Bruno in the team, didn't he? So
yeah, I think that is Ronaldo great if Fernandes isn't in? Is he going to get dropped? Doubt it, but this doesn't seem to be working, does it, with both of them?
No. So I don't think Bruno will be dropped. I think if he's fit, he'll play. But did he have COVID? Is that why he missed out?
Not sure. I don't think it was COVID. I think he was just ill or something.
Okay, but yeah, I think there will be opportunities like that. I don't think for me it'll necessarily be Bruno. But yeah, it's the same with the City players, isn't it? Same with like Cancelo, where you look at it and think, well, is it worth taking him out because they haven't got doubles? And there might be a similar thing with Salah, but I don't know.
Yeah, City's victory is a bit tricky. That Burnley game's obviously quite enticing, and then Liverpool maybe not. Wolves maybe tricky, but then after that it's really good. Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, including a double possibly, and then West Ham. So their last 4 or 5 fixtures are pretty nice.
Exactly, and I think the race is going to go down to the wire. So I'm gonna have to let the dog out. I'll be back in 1 second. That's not the proverbial dog. It's the real dog. So I'll be back in 1 sec.
Roger, see you in a moment. And then the other thing that I'll say without Nick is getting rid of Salah potentially gives you, maybe Salah plus Ramsey. You could have Havertz and maybe a 9-10 mil midfielder, maybe Son, maybe not greatest fixtures. Kulusevski, could even go down to Diaz or maybe Barnes. Maybe the Leicester are on form and they've got some of their doubles rearranged. So I don't know. I think that 32 swing is a potential one.
Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to let her back in again in a minute. So what did I miss?
How about the argument of Salah plus Ramsey could become Havertz plus, don't know, Gallagher, Barnes, Son if you haven't got him. Those sort of players.
Yeah, that's the kind of the moves that I'd rather make. I think rather than just go Salah to Bruno is actually just to beef up 2 positions. Obviously, it means if you want Salah back, it's then 2 transfers again to get him back. But those are the kind of moves that I prefer. But I think you're definitely going to want Salah back for the run in. It's just whether there's that opportunity in the next few game weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if that Salah's essential until maybe 35 Newcastle. And then they got Spurs. It's not great around there.
No.
The other tricky thing as well that I was looking at was 32 captain. The top three according to Rate My Team is Fernandes, KDB, and then Timo Pukki. Which
Really?
shows the dearth of options at the moment. There's no doubles. Liverpool, Man City play each other, so that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
And you away Everton. I mean, yeah, with Everton's form, if they don't get rid of Lampard, that could be a problem. But yeah, I mean, Norwich have only got Burnley, so it's not great. But there's not. I mean, Arsenal, Brighton, maybe that's decent. Rate My Team might be having a moment there, but it indicates there's not a huge set of options there.
Yeah, and in other seasons, I sometimes obviously normally play the free hit in the big blank game week, but I sometimes quite like the look of free hitting in those kind of weeks where because it seems like an opportunity if the big teams are all playing each other, but then sometimes you'll still get big points for somebody like Salah in those big games, or KDB or someone like that. So if 32 is definitely not going to be any doubles in there, then probably just ride it out.
Yeah, agreed. What were you saying about 33 free hit and being so sure on that week rather than others? Where did that come from?
I think just because of the doubles in 33, and so just jumping on it and getting on all the doubles. I mean, again, we've just talked about kind of Salah to Bruno, but you could bring Bruno in on a free hit, and then you don't want him for any of the other games. But it's just that Norwich fixture. You think anything could happen in that. You could kind of maximize and have Ronaldo and Bruno in that game, and then they might get something in the Liverpool game, possibly a penalty or something like that. But yeah, it's that kind of opportunity. Obviously, now that I'm definitely saving free hit in 30, I'm going to have to try and find the other opportunity to use it, because 36 I think is going to be the bench boost that I still haven't used. And so I've got to, we're running out of weeks now. I mean, there's some people who've still got like 2 free hits, still got a wild card, etc., and they're going to need to start using stuff quickly.
Yeah. Was it on the Baker podcast again? I think they were saying no one in the top 10k has got all their chips left. Everyone has used at least one, but a lot of people have only used one.
Oh wow,
that would be pretty amazing. Yeah, having either a wild card or a free hit, bench boost, and triple captain. I guess triple captain might be the one they've used the most.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in the top, it's obviously it's all relative and it's very natural. But when I was in the top 1k, I was like, right, I'd love to finish in the top 1k. That was kind of the goal. Now I'm feeling like I'd actually do quite well to stay in the top 10k by the end of the season, just because of the way it's worked out. And I think it's probably quite a good lesson for next season, is that I don't think it'll be anywhere near as mad as this season, but it felt right to wildcard when I did, and it went really well. But actually, in hindsight, it might not have been the right decision. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, exactly. At the time, that KDB move and getting on City was great, but like you said earlier, if you did a -16 then, or a -8, maybe to get the City assets in, would that have been better in hindsight? It's very tricky.
And that's the thing, because I basically wildcarded before we knew any of the.
Yeah.
I think some of the double game weeks were announced the week after I wildcarded. The big doubles were announced. So in some ways, I was quite lucky as well. So, but yeah, I was still 590th when Salah missed that penalty against Leicester. So.
Was that the highest you've been? Is that the kind of pinnacle, and you're really annoyed about it still?
I think I got down to 580 a couple of weeks after that, because something I think with the wild card maybe. But yeah, when Salah, that was a massive turning point for me when Salah missed that penalty, because I think he would have gone on to get more, and a lot of people had got rid of him the week before because they'd had a COVID cancellation.
That was a game.
I'm just going to go and let the dog back in. Sorry about this, Shley. I'll be back in a sec, and then the other dog will want to go out. So give me a moment.
Right, I think that was all I wanted to discuss on this one. Oh, the other one was I've actually got this wrong. So Newcastle don't have only 2 bold fixtures in the next 4 game weeks. They've got 3, and they've got 3 in a row. Leicester, Crystal Palace at home, and then Norwich away in 33 and 34. So that little run is kind of what I was indicating with Coutinho. If you've got something like that and a double 2 plum fixtures and a good one afterwards as well as a bonus there, that could be quite interesting to go to. Classic case of who do you do that for Newcastle? Is it Fraser, Willock? Maybe St Maximin be back by then, but that might be quite an interesting one.
Apologies again, Shley. Sorry about that.
That's all right. 33 Newcastle, good fixtures. That's what I was just discussing. You can listen to it later.
Yeah, and somebody was mentioning, I don't know what Trippier's prognosis is or when he's going to be back, but he's one, I think, that if he does come back in, might give him a week to get fit. But again, I think he's going to be he's going to score the odd free kick. And
Yeah, he could be
does he,
interesting.
does he take corners for them as well?
Not sure.
I'd guess he probably does. But
Although talk about
Maximin,
polar fixtures there. List I was just mentioning Leicester, Crystal Palace, Norwich. They're all bold,
wow, yeah,
which is good. But then after that, Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. So it would be maybe that's free hit time. But free hit 33, get him in, and maybe make one change to get him in for Norwich as well.
yeah. But that Bruno Guimaraes looks very good now.
Yeah, true.
And starting to see that in kind of some of those midfield players like Thomas Partey for Arsenal. I know that you're not looking at getting Thomas Partey in when there are so many other amazing options in there, but he looks amazing.
Yeah, yeah. He was probably there. Was he the highest point scorer for Arsenal? Ramsdale 9. He would have got double digits, but no one else did. I don't think.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Got a pen, but did he get any bonus? He just got 6, I think. Classic Lacazette, kind of 5 to 6s.
Not sure. White got 1. I think
Ramsdale 2 and Partey 3, so he would have just got 6,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, although no, wasn't there? I think there were 2 Arsenal players on joint. So I think.
Right, okay. Maybe he did then.
So I'm not sure.
FF Scout tickers here, just in case we need anything. And to be honest, was there in case I made a mistake on mine. We can refer back to that. But
that's updated now with the new doubles.
Yes, yeah. And as you said though, 33 is to be confirmed. So they've obviously got a lot more in here than I've got. But
yeah,
after this weekend with the
Cup games,
with the FA Cup, yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing you see, and I think that's the other reason why I've kind of taken my foot off the gas a little bit with the planning and everything else, is that you kind of can because of 30. We all know what 30 is, and I think 30 does seem just a little bit. It is a little bit dull, I think.
Yeah.
And I think once 30's done, and you'll get a load of people kind of like reloading their teams for Gameweek 31, thinking my bus team looks amazing for 31. Yeah. So we don't need to rush to make any transfers now, I don't think. And we can just kind of see what the lay of the land is. There'll be lots of people pulling wildcards in 31, 32. So yeah, it's going to be, I mean, I'm looking forward to the run-in, but this feels like a bit of a lull before the run-in, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Captaincy, are you 100% on Kane? It's got to be tempting with Son, though. Kane's well ahead in the captain poll, but Son's a bit ahead on Rate My Team.
Yeah, again, I'm not a massive fan of Rate My Team because again, it's just kind of someone else's opinion over it. I just think Kane looks so on it at the moment, whereas Son doesn't look quite. Kane looks on top form, whereas Son doesn't. And there's also, Kulusevski's now they're kind of taking the ball and feeding Kane, and I just think. Yeah, I am worried that if I don't, it's one of those annoying things, isn't it? Where I've got Son and I've kept him and I've got him and Kane, but if I captain Kane, I kind of want Son to blank. But I'm much more afraid of Kane at the moment. I just think he looks happy and he looks hungry, and I'm not happy about these 30 fixtures. That I actually wouldn't be surprised if Spurs lose to West Ham and don't score. Yeah. We're all going to have 3 Spurs. So West Ham's defense is pretty solid.
Maybe depend on that Sevilla game. Is it this midweek? And then they've got game on, I presume it's Sunday for the Spurs West Ham game. So I could play into it a little bit. But yeah, really hard to call, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, so I'm not amazingly excited about Game Week 30 at all. I just hope I get some points. But I was thinking about this earlier in terms of picking a free hit team, and I don't know whether the thing to do is to look at the fixtures and think, right, what do you think what would you bet if somebody said, right, you've got to choose the score in that game, and then to go through and say, well, if I'm going for say 2-1 Spurs over West Ham, think, yeah, Kane's probably going to be involved. There are no clean sheets in that game, therefore I'll go for kind of triple Spurs attack. Or I just wonder whether that's the way to do it, or whether the way to do it is to say, right, well, I don't know what the scores are going to be in these games because they're quite hard to call, and therefore I'm going to have a balance of a West Ham defender, a Spurs defender, a Spurs midfielder, a Spurs attacker, an Arsenal defender, midfielder, and attacker, and just kind of spread it around like that. Or whether, I think there's probably 2 different approaches you can take there. The nice thing about 30, or the interesting thing about 30, is that you don't have to worry about money at all because you cannot possibly spend all the money. So you're just literally thinking which players are going to score highest in that week.
Yeah, I was listening to Planet FPL today, and James was saying, whatever you do, don't put like Gelhardt on the bench or whatever to try and save some money. It was a good point, wasn't it? Because like someone does drop out, if you have the wrong Wolves defender or something, you might need Ramsey's maybe a bad example, but Coutinho first bench or something. Just go for it. Get the players there, and you might need 2 auto subs.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's I do think, you could look at a free hit team, for example, and say that isn't optimal. And I think optimal would be that if you've got 4 million in the bank, you shouldn't have cheap players on your defense. You should spend all the money.
Yeah, but then there's not that many options to get it's not like having a Matip versus a Trent for these teams. Most of those teams are quite similar in price.
No, and this is the thing, but I just think that, why would you have is he saying that you'd have a Gelhardt on the bench because you'd have so much money in the team? I think if you've got money left over, you just have the best possible team you can. Even in your third bench spot, you could have Coutinho on your third bench spot if you don't think they're going to do anything, just because you can.
Yeah, no, I think that was what he was saying. I don't know if it was realistic to have Gelhardt. Maybe like you say, I don't really know how you would get to that money. Things with Kane, Son, Lacazette. I mean, there are some quite high prices in there, but yeah, quite quickly after those three, it goes down quite quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
Interesting though, yeah, whether you would balance it or whether you would just gamble and say, I'm going 3 Spurs, no West Ham, 3 Brentford, no Leicester, or would you split it? I think I'd do a bit of a mixture, especially like Brentford, West Ham. Brentford, Leicester. That could go either way. You'd have an attacker from each, and then maybe take the punt on the last one.
Yeah, I mean, have we actually got have you got a free hit team here that you've put together?
No, I know we were talking about it doing in advance, but no, I didn't.
Yeah, I might. Maybe I'll do a quick recording tomorrow on Kate's birthday.
Beautiful.
Just do a free hit team. But I think, I mean, I saw one today, and it was, I do like certain calls. Like I like the idea of having, one of the big West Ham defenders against Spurs, probably Dawson, just because he is just so prolific in the air.
Yeah.
So I like punts like that where you think, right, I'm just going to get this player because it could go off. But I guess it could be like Wolves, where I brought Saiss in thinking he was going to get an attacking return at some point. I was kind of crossing my fingers for it, and then Coady, I think, had 2 in that time.
I know, yeah.
It's pretty painful. You could get Dawson in, and then Zuma goes ahead and smashes one in against Spurs. So I don't know. It's very difficult to call, but I think on a free hit, it's worth having a few punts like that where you think I'm just gonna go for it. And I can't remember the other one that I was thinking of. I think I would definitely have Toney, even though it's Leicester, because Leicester's defense is pretty shaky. And
Johnny was an interesting one. They were talking about Wolves defender if you want something different, because I think Hoover's injured and Semedo obviously nowhere near, so I think he could be quite attacking and more nailed than on the left hand side. But I think I'd just probably go Coady, given that recent form.
Yeah, I thought Coady as well. That's who I would have gone for. But I have seen people who've gone for Johnny. I think Johnny coming back from injury like he has, I still don't think he's really going to be bombing down that wing. But you definitely have triple Spurs, even though they're playing West Ham, right?
I don't know. I mean, from a coverage point, yes, because everyone's going to have that and triple Arsenal as well. But the fixture's not easy, is it? So definitely 2, but maybe I'll be tempted with just Son and Kane, and then take a few more punts.
I think I'd actually get Kulusevski. I think I'd have Kulusevski, Son, and Kane, because I don't think the Spurs are going to keep a clean sheet in that game. And I think Kulusevski will be up for the fight, and he's a strong lad, so I can see him doing quite well. I think Cresswell still out?
I think he is back.
No, I think he might still be out, but I think there's a chance that he's out because weren't Planet FPL talking about Son being up against Fredericks on the right?
Oh right, okay, missed that.
And then on the left, and then Johnson being on the left. So
okay.
I feel like the Spurs triple attack is going to be better than having one of the defenders, but who knows? And then I'd have three. Which 3 from Arsenal would you have on a free hit?
Saka. Probably, I mean, I'm saying Lacazette just because you need to fill the forward spots.
Yeah.
But he's got that form, and then defence I think is, I don't know, maybe biased with Ramsdale, but he's got a clean sheet. He's only made 3 saves. He's got 2 bonus, so I think that could just happen in any game. I think that's probably the boring option, isn't it? But you could go maybe a Sar or a Schmeichel or something if you're feeling a bit punty.
Yeah, I think some people have looked at Schmeichel, but even though it's Brentford, Brentford have scored quite a few goals in the last few, and obviously they got Eriksen against them as well. But Leicester's defence is terrible, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I wouldn't go with Schmeichel. I would have either Sar or Ramsdale. And then the punt that obviously we were talking about earlier is Christian Eriksen. I think I would definitely have him just for a bit of fun.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A bit of a laugh. And what would be the classic formation then? We're thinking probably 3-5-2. I feel there's a lot of midfielders, defenders, and probably not many, and strikers are hard any week.
Well, I think I probably would have Toney, Lacazette, and Kane. The
Yeah,
other
okay.
one who we haven't mentioned is Jimenez. I just don't trust Jimenez at the moment, and I know I've been burned by him recently because I brought him in for Watkins, thinking he was going to be okay, but he just doesn't look like he's scoring goals. And I don't know. I think I'd rather have Toney than Jimenez at the moment.
I agree. Yeah, he'd be 4th in that list. I mean, if he starts, he probably will. But yeah, Wolves are not a goal machine. I know they're playing Leeds, but he's not a midfield runner or that classic thing. I think I'd rather have if I could be sure, Pedence or well, Hwang's injured, but someone like that's going to run from midfield. I'd probably go for them instead.
And then would you have Raphinha?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
So
a
we are
free
kind of
hit, that's not where you go too risky, I think.
No. So we are kind of building a bit of a team now.
Yeah,
I think if
maybe
just
in the
seeing it
notes
on
we
your
could
list.
put a little cheeky 3-4-3 up. Sounds like that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, and I think in your list, I think if I was going to go for a Spurs defender, I would go for Reguilon over Doherty because I just think he's definitely going to play, and he is attacking.
Okay.
Annoyingly, I'm going to have to let the other dog.
All right. Well, while you do that, I'm going to move on to my team, and we'll try and wrap it up in the next 10 minutes.
Okay. Cool.
Right. So I am looking like this for game week 30. I've got on paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players starting. I don't know how I miscounted that, but yeah, I've got a full 11 except for Thiago Silva in my team and Broja. But the on paper bit is important because I've got Harrison, rotation risk, Digne, hamstring injury possibly, and Ait-Nouri, rotation risk. So I've really got 6 plus 3 risky ones. Well, and I suppose Doherty, you could say it's quite a risk as well. So as I've said, the possible transfer, I got 1 free transfer, 3.9 in the bank. So I do have quite a lot in the bank. I suppose the big difference here from your team, Nick, is I've got Kulusevski rather than Son. But
yeah,
what, if any, would I spend the money on this week, and what would I do? I think a lot depends on whether Digne is injured or not. I don't think it really is effective with who plays on Thursday because I don't think any of the sort of question marks on my team. Oh, Doherty, actually, it would depend. Say Doherty's out and blimmin' injured or something, that would sway me maybe to make a move. Yeah, what would you do here, Nick? You're thinking of rolling, so I guess that would be your default position, right? I've just saying I've got 5 definites and 4 risks, but on paper it's 9 in total, so that's decent, I think.
Yeah, you've got a lot more in the bank than me, or you've actually got some in the bank, and you've got 4 million in the bank. I might. I mean, with Broja, I mean, I just don't. He's not looked good. He scored that brilliant goal in the FA Cup, but apart from that, he's looked pretty terrible. I think I've seen that Southampton are likely to have a double game week in 33, but still seems a way off at the moment. Would you not consider Broja to Toney for this week? I know Brentford's fixtures don't look great after this, do they? Which is the issue, but
yeah, they don't. Let's just double check. The other thing there is cash, that you'll be putting cash into the forwards, which I'm not keen on, and it's only, what's the difference there, 1.2 or 3 or something, so it's not mega, but like you say, it would be locked in there a bit and hard to remove. Chelsea away, Brentford have got in 31, West Ham, Watford, they're not great. No upcoming doubles, no
no.
upcoming double
I don't
digit
think
me.
they can. I don't think they can have a double.
Right.
For
It's
the
one of
rest of
those
the
teams
season.
that won't blank but won't double.
I think so. Yeah, I think I remember. I think James from Planet FPL saying that a while back now, but just saying that, Toney's quite, I think it was just Toney at the time, but now I think Eriksen would be in that list as well. But this is the problem, right? Because for people free hitting, they can have that punt in 30, but for us, when we're not looking to do that now, there isn't a huge amount of upside of just bringing a player for this week. And I think, yeah, you've got some risks in there and you might end up with a lot less than 9, but I think it's going to be much, much more beneficial to have two transfers in 31 or more likely 32 probably. Because that's the other issue. If you looked at that, when I was planning through, it was difficult to actually even find a transfer in 31. And then it was like, am I going to burn a transfer?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just on the Leeds Harrison to Raphinha option, the Wolves fixture does stink on my ticker. It's bright red.
Yeah.
But after that, Southampton is a decent blue and it's bold, and then Watford is a red, albeit it's bold. So you've got two potential swings there. Teams that have
And then
historically conceded a
is
lot.
that Chelsea then for them in 32 that might be off? Would that mean
Yeah,
they wouldn't have a fixture?
correct. But then if I'm free hitting, not a big issue maybe. But yeah, it might be a blank, that one. So
Okay.
it would be a fairly short term one, next 3 fixtures, but it gives me a more solid one for 30, and it gives me. I would be a bit worried about Raphinha, maybe because I've got Harrison. If I didn't have them at all, it'd be like, right, I just need to hide behind the sofa. But the fact I've got Harrison, it's almost like I need Leeds to score very specifically.
Yeah,
It's
I know what you
annoying.
mean, but I think, a bit like I was saying, that Norwich might beat Leeds, and I think they did go ahead, didn't they? Or did they draw a level? I can't remember, but I think Southampton will beat Leeds fairly comfortably.
Interesting. Okay. The other
So
options I
yeah, so
thought.
what else could you do?
I think if Dina's out as well, that is interesting, but it is really hard to find a defender that sort of works. A double up on Wolves is a potential. If we go back to the ticker again, would that work? Lee's fixture is very good, but then Villa, it could be anything. Villa are so hard to predict, aren't they? And then Newcastle's not too bad, but then possibly a blank 12th best fixtures overall for Wolves. So, I mean, Leeds as well is, that could be anything. They could win 3-0, they could lose 3-0.
This is the thing. I don't think any obvious transfers pop out for players that you would want to get for 30 and keep long term. There's no like super obvious.
No, it's true.
You've got. Right, I'm just going to let the dog back in now. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
So yeah, that's how I'm sitting. It's going to be a roll or one transfer, but I've got a keeper. So De Gea, I've got money on the bench. I can't really take out of him. I mean, Thiago Silva out potentially for a Wolves defender, but then at least I've got Silva as a potential Chelsea cover in 31 would be good. Can't really get rid of Weghorst, I don't think, with his double coming up. Yeah, Nick talking about Bro, yeah. Toney might be okay, but then I feel that is putting money in there that might be tricky to get out again.
Sorry about that. I was just thinking, if you needed me to fill a 30-minute segment, I could do 30 minutes on why you shouldn't get dogs.
That'll be the bonus episode we'll do in like July when it's real dead time.
And this week, Nick talks about why you shouldn't have dogs and kids. Yeah, I wonder how many views we'd get for that. So this is me. Yeah, I've got nothing in the bank. So the question is are 2 zeros.
Yeah, I forgot that you broke even last week, didn't you?
Yeah, and I actually had the kind of nail biting thing of making my transfers on. I think it was on the Thursday night ahead of I think it was straight after we.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, I think you took like an hour to think about it and then pulled it.
Yeah, and overnight there weren't any price changes anyway, so that made me a bit even sweatier, because then I was like, well, if
there's something bad in the presses,
if there's any adverse news, but actually I got away with all of it, I think, and then so I had 0-0, and it is interesting because it leaves you so inflexible. But I think there's a very, very obvious way for me to get some money, and I think that in the next, it probably be even in something like 30, 31 or 32, but just go Son down to Kulusevski, just frees up a lot of funds. Kulusevski's looked really good. Son actually hasn't looked that on it. Obviously, if he goes off against West Ham, that's going to make that much more difficult. But I think that might be the way that I try and bring some flexibility back in the next few weeks.
That's fine, but when are you going to do that? Because that's a risky move. You'd want to do that on a bad Tottenham fixture, right? To mentally protect
Yeah.
yourself. I don't think you can do that in 31.
Well, it depends. I mean, it
Against
depends
home.
because obviously I wouldn't be doing it just for its own sake. I'd be doing it in order to bring
Yeah,
somebody else
okay.
in. So if it means we bring in Reece James or something into the defence, then
Yeah, fair. Okay.
I'm willing to take the hit on it. But yeah, Son is always a bit scary. But yeah, I mean, I really like the look of Havertz as well. So I could even do something like that. Son to Havertz.
Just to Havertz, maybe. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, but I'm almost certain I'm rolling this week. Can you see anything I could do at all?
I think your non-playing players are more solid keeps than mine. You're not getting rid of Robertson, not getting rid of who I don't have. Their course we both got. I don't think you get rid. Broja, I mean, you haven't got any money, so that in a way makes it easier as well. You can't move him to anyone obvious. You can't downgrade your. Well, you could get a playing keeper, and that would maybe free up some money.
But I mean, I looked at that. Who would you? Because I can't do Ramsdale, can't do Saiss.
Yeah, who can you actually afford? Martinez is probably a bit tight. Raya at
I think Martinez is like 5. Is he 5'5"?
Is he? Right. I thought it was like 5'2", but maybe not.
Is he? I don't think I can afford him anyway. He might be 5'4" actually. I think he dropped from 5'5".
Fabianski. I mean, it's pretty random. Sar's too expensive, so it's either Raya or Fabianski or Melier. They don't sound good, do they?
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, I'm either getting a Brentford keeper, the Leeds keeper, or the Leicester keeper, and you're just like, well, yeah, I could do Fabianski, but I don't really like that. I think just having 2 free transfers in the weeks coming is going to be much more powerful.
And what are you thinking there with 2 free transfers? You mentioned Havertz, maybe a Chelsea defender, maybe a Man City defender. What else is bringing to mind? Son downgrade, maybe.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look at it because it's also, if I am going to come up to a Reece James or a Rudiger or even, I don't think I could get back up to Cancelo from there very easily at all. But it's then, you're then looking at who you take out, aren't you, as well? I think it is probably likely going to be Saiss.
Do you think the 33 free hit yes or no calculation is easy to do? Are you going to sort of go away, how would you do that? Look at the ticker, look at your team and just think, do I have a few weak spots here and a few swings? Like you haven't got Newcastle, for example, if we think they're good to go. That's the sort of thing you'd be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I absolutely love live FPL. I know a lot of other people are using, FPL.team and things like that now, but I'm just very, very used to live FPL. But I'll just go in there now that the new fixtures will have dropped in. And in fact, I may even just wait until after the FA Cup games, so I'm not wasting thinking time. But just go in there, and obviously you pick the team, you make the decision for that week, and then you click forward to the next game week and the game week after that, and it's so good because you can think, right, well, what am I going to do when I'm faced with that team when the game week ticks over to the next one and I've got that team now, and it just you start figuring out who the fixtures are and everything else, and I just think it's that's what I'll do. But I think the reason why I probably will have to play it in 33 is because, I mean, I'll look to see if there is another opportunity outside of that, because I have to say I hadn't thought of playing for a free hit at all in game week 28, but that was the week to play it seems, wasn't it? So but I'll see if there are any other opportunities there. But I just think that because I'm almost certainly going to bench boost in 36, no matter how that falls. It'll be quite interesting now seeing that. I see how that falls in, how the bench boost is going to look for those weeks now with the double.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was kind of thinking with that, and not necessarily going down the route of we need to look for missed opportunities and how do we miss stuff, but maybe 33 bench boost and 36 free hit is the better way round. If we've got players that have got potentially good 33 fixtures, then we should just double check that that's not the move. But
no, exactly, and that's again why it's so good to be able to play out all the different scenarios, or many different scenarios in live FPL. Because you're right, it might well be that you look at it and think, the bench boost looks amazing for 33 now. So let's see. I don't think it will, but
it is amazing how powerful it is just having the sort of fixtures on the screen like that and actually seeing your players with it. Because tickers have been around for a while, but just visualizing 4 game weeks ahead on a ticker is actually quite difficult. Whereas having it just on the screen with the fixtures below is really handy, isn't it?
Well, I find it, I mean, I do find it quite difficult even looking at that to, you know, obviously you can look at a team and say, great, Arsenal have got, you know, mostly blue, they all look good, et cetera, et cetera. Same with Spurs. But the reason why I like actually being able to pick the team week to week and look at what it looks like next week is that there'll be some player, you know, it might be like Jacob Ramsey or someone like that you haven't even really thought about, and you haven't thought about their fixtures, and it just so happens they've got a really nice fixture when you need them to have one, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't generally otherwise look good on the ticker.
Yeah, and it's difficult to do that when you realise that, I need them to play because my other players, they might need to be benched there, so I might need to bring someone in from the bench.
Because I mean, look, I mean, we've all been saying how Villa's fixtures turn horrendous, but look at their 35 and 36 fixtures.
Yeah.
So I could bench Jacob Ramsey for the next 5 weeks and then play him against Norwich and Burnley and then Palace, and he might come home for me and be the guy who secures my place in the top 10,000.
Top 10,000 is that? Yeah, that's probably a fair aim, but it'd be so good if you can get back to the top 1K.
Oh, I don't think I will. I think this is. I'm finding now that I felt like I was doing really, really well, and I think it was just because I'd played chips earlier than other people had.
Yeah, no, the other chips are really biting at the moment, isn't it? When we're not playing when it's hard.
Yeah.
Right, should we call it a day? 1 hour 10.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for the time, Shlee. All good, and I'm looking forward to getting my head back on this for the running.
Yeah, agreed. Have a good week, mate, and see you next time. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.